Back on ABC24 this week, it just kind of dawned on us this week, fellas, that there's a number of big ticket items that this county is looking at having to spend money on. Some have a little more urgency than others, but let's put up the four big projects that we're looking at in particular and basically tell you the cost involved with each one. There are two new high schools planned for Fraser and Cordova. We learned this week that the prices on those high schools has gone from $200 million, about $100 million each, to now at $386 million due to inflation primarily. The new Regional 1, we've been talking about that for a couple of years now. There's some initial financing. We got some good news on that this week when we found out Wanda Halbert's books do match now, and we do know some money is being collected for the debt service on a new Regional 1. Problem is, not enough money has been collected. It's just short of expectations. So that's raising into question where is the extra millions going to come from just to finance the debt service there. The new county jail. There's a big push for that after all some of the revelations that have come out about the lockup at 201 Poplar, which Otis reminded me of yesterday. In the 80s was referred to as the glamour slammer. It was so nice,
right?
But that's not the case anymore. And the price tag on that, people are saying anywhere from $800 million to $1 billion. And then, of course, there's the big push to renovate FedexForum, about $500 million there, although a good portion of that money, almost half, has been raised, thankfully, to some state funds that have come our way. So, anyway, I want you both to think about all these big items here, and how would you rank them in terms of importance? Wow. If we could just put up that list one more time as we go through this and see if our viewers agree with what your choices are.
It's a tough thing to do, to rank them, because they all are important. I would have to say, and this is not for any selfish reasons, FedexForum, because we are getting state dollars for that. And there's a lot of economic development, a lot of businesses that rely on the activity at the FedexForum for their livelihood. And I'm not just talking about for Grizzlies games or Tigers games. We're talking about all the other events. Even a tractor pull down there probably has some economic value there. So I have to go with FedexForum, and I'll let some of the others talk about the others. But, you know, obviously, well, let me just say this. I don't understand why we need to spend up to $1 billion for a new jail. I just don't understand that. It makes no sense at all. Yep. But we need the high schools, and of course we need Regional 1, but my first priority is FedexForum. All
right, Reverend Whalen, let me have you weigh in on this now. The order in which you think how important they are, and is it the same order you think they're going to get done in?
From least important to most important, and the one I think we can do more quickly. Least important is FedexForum renovation. Next, least most important would be Regional 1. The next would be the county jail, new jail. The most important that I think we could make headway on very, very quickly is the two new high schools. If the cost is going to continue to rise, there has to be an interim, like a stopgap measure to effectively educate children in the interim until the construction is done or the contracts are abandoned or whatever happens. And I'll make news, I've already spoken with Ted Townsend at the Chamber, Mayor Young, Police Chief Davis, and Board Chairman for the schools, Althea Green. They have all initially talked about using vacant office space in Memphis and Shelby County.
We have a little bit of that.
We talked about that before, to make a smaller teacher-pupil ratio across the county, implement educating those kids while the construction is being done, while the renovations are being done, and somehow word the contracts for the schools such that they can be modified or changed before they get too far in terms of attaching funds. If we find that the education process for those children in smaller classrooms across the city and county is effective, then the chamber wins, the city wins, the police win, MATA wins, because MATA has to play a role in it by providing transportation for the kids. In a nutshell, that's what we're moving toward, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll have another meeting toward that end.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Chris?
Just a few thoughts. The new jail, that just seems exorbitant to me. Yeah. And I understand that there are issues. I don't want to minimize that. Right. But is it to the point where Shelby County is violating federal or state law? Because if it's not to that point, we've got a lot of other needs, and we've got limited resources. So for me, a new glamour slammer ranks very low. To your point about the schools, I just don't know enough, and I'm sure it's been explored, but my understanding is that, at least very recently, there were a large number of facilities that were not used, that the school system has closed down, they're abandoned, and I'm sure that it would be very expensive to update those. Has that been considered as an alternative to building these new schools? And obviously Cordova's seen a lot of population growth. It sounds like that's very needed. So I'm a little bit ignorant on that front, but my understanding that there were, multiple, I don't know if it's dozens, but multiple empty schools that were sitting around, some of which have been sold to charter schools, some of which are just mothballed. Mm-hmm. Are we using the existing resources that we have before we start contemplating what could result in a property tax increase to these citizens to build 2 new high schools? Again, the high schools, they look great. If you've been out to Cairville, they have this beautiful high school, Bartlett, all these athletic facilities. I get that. There's an arms race going on, and we want to have the best for our children. But are there other options that don't cost $300 million?
I'll defer to Otis.
Well, I think you make a lot of good points here, but a lot of those schools that are abandoned, and then local ABC24 did a story the other day about one of them.
Yeah, Shannon Elementary.
Right. Well, they're not in the area where the people are.
That's a great point.
And so you're not going to bust somebody all the way over there if you renovate that school. So I think that's the problem there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then also that list of 4 projects. You've got no taxpayer wants to spend their money on a new jail. That's just not a priority. No. Schools, maybe if my kids are affected, or would help my neighborhood, but again, that tends to be centrally focused. You look at Regional 1, chances are most of us won't have to go to Regional 1, God willing, unless we've been shot or something. And then you've got FedexForum, and everyone gets behind that because, everyone wants the Grizzlies to stay, and that no matter where you are in town or where you are in life, that's something that the money seems to follow a little more naturally.
That's the reason I put it as my number 1, despite what you said, Ken.
We've spoken about this before, about Regional 1. Healthcare has always been central to the city. We have world-class health facilities. We could talk on and on about that. Here's my question, and I don't know. How much of this funding for Regional 1 comes from neighboring states whose citizens routinely use and rely on this, especially the trauma center, all of that? That needs to be part of the conversation.
And it has been part of the conversation, and the answer, I think, is 0.
I think that's unacceptable.
States that have imposed tolls, and this has been talked about before here, I know, and maybe it's just not logistically possible here, but where you have, if you want to come into Shelby County and you work in DeSoto or Crittenden, you're going to pay a toll every day, and you're going to help pay for some of our infrastructure needs.
Well, if Governor Tate Reeves in Mississippi and Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders over in Arkansas want to have to deal with this, let's go to them. But they are not discussing this.
I'm going to let you call them.
And I'm sure they'll answer my calls.
So we have some new county commissioners who are activists at heart. Maybe they can push that for their fellow commissioners and get some action.
I think taxpayers would appreciate the conversation for sure. All right, we're going to talk about a couple of teams that play in FedexForum in a moment. The Memphis Tigers and the Memphis Grizzlies. A disappointing season, about over or over. We'll be right back.